Hello everyone and welcome to our Sports Science podcast. I'm Luke Dunnett and today we'll be discussing the subject of the importance of exercise and analysis to injury prevention, which I'll be discussing with our two guests who have kindly joined us today. Introducing our guests now. Our first guest is strength and conditioning coach Liam Oakes. Liam has served some time as Sussex County Cricket Club as an assistant strength and conditioning coach before moving on to work with Man Alive, a health and fitness company based in Hertfordshire and Middlesex. Thank you for joining us, Liam.
Thank you for having me, Luke. Looking forward to the discussion.
Our second guest is a sports scientist, Luke Youngsey. Luke has also worked with Sussex County Cricket Club as a sports scientist, as well as dabbing in some performance analysis work with British Canoeing, based at the White Water Centre in Lee Valley. It's good to have you with us, Luke.
Yeah, thanks. It's great to be here today.
Love to see you on a canoe, Lukey.
We'd all love to see Luke on the canoe, I think. Right, Liam, can I begin with you? As a strength and conditioning coach, what is your role in prevention of the athlete's injury over a period of time?
Yeah, that's a key point actually, Luke. Because I mean, when you think of the gym, what do you think of?
Lifting as much as I can.
Yeah, exactly. That is genuinely it. People look at the S&C and think, oh, lift weight. But what the key philosophy really is as a strength and conditioning coach for a sport is you cannot win trophies from the physio bed. Like that's it. That's a basic principle. Youngsey can back me up with that. At Sussex last year, how many of those fast bowlers are sort of key player? How many of them picked up niggles and injuries over the season? So many.
Well, one of them was earning 1 million in India, mate.
Yeah, exactly. All going off and earning more money. But even then, the injury prevention is key because you have to make sure that they're fit for that different conditions in India or wherever they are. So there's a three-dimensional approach we have as the S&C really to injury prevention. Firstly, it's robustness. Building robustness.
Right, sorry. Robustness, not many of our viewers will know what that is. Yep. Could you just expand on that, please?
Of course I can, yeah. So robustness, my definition of that is slightly different, sort of the standard definition. For me, robustness is basically just being able to competently perform sport-specific movements repeatedly. Okay, so for a cricket player, for example, they need to be able to bowl a spell, so 6 overs, whatever it is, repetitively, day after day. If they can't do that, they're not doing their job. Okay, so if I cannot make my bowlers perform regularly and repetitively, they're not doing their job. So that's really it. They're fighting for their job as well as for mine, really. So
yeah, it's just training the body to be able to do its job over and over again, to the same standard every time.
So repetitiveness then.
Brilliant, yeah, repetitiveness, exactly. So competency through sport-specific movements. For example, a cricketer, they're bowling, they're throwing, they're using a lot of upper limb motions. So shoulder stability is a key thing there. Overhead carries, external rotation, so different work, making sure the stabilising muscles are strong in that position is really key importance for me. However, rugby S&C may look at it differently. They may think, their key position as a forward, as a flanker, is getting to the breakdown and just being strong on the ground in there. So they might do grappling, wrestling on the floor, whatever it is. All their needs here need to prepare for the intensity and specificity of the sport themselves. Secondly, so we have robustness. Secondly, my other dimension will be technique. So here I mean lifting in the gym, actual lifting, sprinting mechanics, sporting movements. They need to look good, they need to feel good, they need to be safe. Youngsey, technique, something that you came in a lot with at Sussex. His little camera coming in, tripping my players up.
Yeah, I know that. Quite often, or every week, we'd take a few cameras into the gym, but our ways in, and maybe not always welcome with open arms. But I think video, especially from you, Liam, I think video analysis is a great tool for everyone to use, especially strength and conditioning coaches, especially with injury prevention as well. So you can really help the coaches to minimise injury risk and also identify factors that could later lead to an injury. So at Sussex, one of the main ways we would use video analysis would be in the gym, and it'd be filming players completing functional and sport-specific movements. After we've recorded these movements, as the science and medicine team, we'd all go down to the science and medicine department, sit down on Dartfish and analyse.
So you talk about these meetings, right? These meetings like big meetings, or are you talking about just you and a select members of staff?
Well, I guess it's select in a way. We just have the members of the science and medicine department. So we'd have maybe the S&C coaches, the physiotherapists, and the head of science and medicine, and we'd all sit down and thoroughly analyse these movements.
But on that point, sometimes you're right, Luke. Sometimes we would involve maybe a coach, a skills coach, for example. One of the fielding coach was a real key part of that. A lot of the time, we use, as Luke said, videos of players fielding lifts in the gym, such as a lateral step up or a quick explosive movement, and compared where they maybe have a deficiency or something there in the movement. So you're right, yeah, we would include other members of staff.
Yeah, because that must be hard. It must be worse for a professional athlete to tell them that they're actually doing something wrong.
Yeah, but that's when technique comes in, because it's not necessarily about how much you lift or what you lift. It's how you're lifting it or how you're moving, which is important to injury prevention. So that then also links into my next point. The final dimension really is periodization. So as an S&C, you're always going with a plan. Okay, the annual plan, the way we manipulate intensity, volume, exercise selection, rest, whatever it is called a periodized plan. Okay, so here we have to ensure the athletes have enough time to recover and rest to prepare for their next game or training phase.
So are you working towards a goal, an ultimate goal, or is it just an outright to be ready for the season?
In cricket, yeah, it's tough because you're such a congested fixture list. It's really just making sure you can adapt them enough so that when the season comes around, they're ready for performance, and then try and maintain as much as you can throughout the year, throughout the season. Different sports are different there. Some adapt throughout the season. Ours is a little bit tougher to do so due to the fixture list. But this works well. Here you can monitor the athlete's workload, okay, so throughout the season and during training, and then we can adapt the training demands accordingly, which Luke actually did a lot of in your time.
Yeah, so Luke, obviously, you were talking about dartfish before I rudely cut you off. Just how hard is it to analyse using dartfish?
Initially, dartfish, it can seem like a tough software to get to grips with and to get your head around, but it's like anything. Once you've done it a few times and used it, maybe had some guidance from people who have used it before, it's not actually that hard a software to use and can provide some real good data.
So it can seem daunting, but like anything, it's just practice makes perfect.
Yeah, 100%.
Is there any other tools you use in regards to analysis of athletes?
Yeah, so away from video analysis, another area that was growing in Sussex whilst I was there was the use of GPS software, which we'd use to calculate and monitor players' workloads through the planning. This was actually an initiative from the ECB whilst we were there. So they tried to get more GPS data or more GPS software down to the county clubs. So they gave some GPS units to each club, which they would then use to gather real data on the exertion of their players.
So that's where the governing body are actually looking after the fitness of athletes.
Exactly, yeah. So I guess the ECB have looked at, obviously they know the fixture lists are so, well, they're full all the time, aren't they? And I guess they've seen that injury prevention is an area that really needs to be attacked. So that's I guess why they've brought in the GPS software. And actually, I think it's been a real step forward in the battle to reduce injury risk. So I guess it's doing exactly what they wanted it to do.
Yeah, so a stat I read in researching for this is that a coach can only remember 30% of what happened. I think the English Institute of Sport said that. So Liam and his S&C coaches can get annoyed, but I guess analysis is very important in terms of injury prevention.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a running joke, isn't it, that the different coaches around the sports club do try and take the mickey out of each other. But I think that's a really important point. I think the use of video analysis and analysis in general has now become a necessity for the area of sports performance. And I think it's a real risk to rely on the naked eye. That backs up your point. It's a real risk to rely on the naked eye, especially at the elite level. So I think the appropriate use of video and numerical analysis can provide accurate information to the coaches that can aid in injury prevention and workload management.
Right, so we've had views from people trying to prevent injuries. I'd like to thank our guests, actually. We're running out of time. So thank you to Liam Oakes.
Thank you, Luke.
Thank you to Luke Youngsey.
Yeah, no worries.
I'm Luke Dunning, and that was a podcast for the Sports Science.